The cafeteria was alive with noise, laughter bouncing off tiled walls, trays clattering, sneakers squeaking across linoleum. Groups clustered at tables, swapping stories and sharing fries, their voices rising in a familiar, comforting chaos. But in the far corner, at a table meant for 8, one seat was occupied. Eli sat hunched, his frame lost inside a faded hoodie 2 sizes too big. His tray held a half-eaten sandwich and untouched milk. He stared at it like it was miles away. His fingers picked at the crust, more out of habit than hunger. No one looked his way. A football player brushed past, knocking the corner of Eli's tray. "Watch it," he muttered, barely glancing. Eli didn't respond. He just shifted in his seat, trying to make himself smaller. From a distance, you could tell, he wasn't just alone. He was invisible. Kids laughed nearby, shouting over each other about weekend plans, TikTok trends, and inside jokes Eli would never hear. A girl walked by, bumped his table, paused for a heartbeat, but kept going. Eli glanced up, just once, scanning the room like someone waiting to be found. But no one met his eyes. His shoulders sank. He pulled out a small sketchbook from his backpack, keeping it low, as if ashamed. Pencil lines danced softly across the page, dragons, galaxies, faces with wide, knowing eyes. Art bursting with color, in a world that refused to see him. The bell rang. Chairs scraped. Students rushed off. Eli packed up in silence, the last to leave. No one noticed. Not yet. The hallway was a blur of backpacks, hallway chatter, and slamming locker doors. Students streamed past like a river, fast, noisy, and blind to anything outside their world. Eli walked quietly along the edge of the current, his eyes down, clutching the strap of his worn-out backpack. He avoided eye contact, each step carefully placed to stay out of the way. Then, thud, a shoulder brushed too close. Eli stumbled. His books tumbled from his arms and scattered across the hallway floor, papers, sketchbook, pencils rolling under lockers. The stream kept moving. A few students stepped over his things. One even laughed, not out of cruelty, but thoughtless momentum. Eli crouched, face flushed, scrambling to gather everything. A girl walked right by, earbuds in, eyes elsewhere. Then, someone stopped. A soft voice cut through the noise. "Hey, let me help you." Amelia, a senior. Not popular, not invisible either. She was just present. The kind of person who smiled at the janitor. Who sat with different people each week in the cafeteria. She knelt down beside him, picking up a pencil, then his sketchbook. Her eyes landed on the open page, an intricate drawing of a phoenix rising from a crumbled city. "Did you draw this?" she asked, surprised. Eli blinked. Yeah. She smiled. Not a polite smile, but something real. "It's incredible." He didn't know what to say. No one had ever called anything he did incredible. "Thanks," he whispered. They stood up together. Amelia handed him his book carefully, like it was valuable. "See you around, Eli," she said. She knew his name. As she disappeared into the hallway, Eli stood a little taller. For the first time in a long time, he felt seen. The art room was quiet after school. Sunlight spilled through tall windows, painting golden rectangles on the floor. Paintbrushes stood in jars, and the faint scent of acrylic and paper filled the air. Eli sat at a back table, nervously flipping through his sketchbook. He'd been waiting, unsure if she'd show. A part of him told himself not to hope too much. But then, she walked in. Amelia. She dropped her bag beside him and slid into the seat across the table, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You really didn't have to come," Eli said. Quietly. "I wanted to," she replied. "You said you liked to draw after class. I wanted to see more." Eli hesitated, then opened the sketchbook. Page after page revealed his world, twisting cities, mythical creatures, faces full of emotion. Each sketch carried the weight of someone who had seen too much but spoken too little. Amelia turned each page with care. "These are amazing," she said, almost in awe. "Why don't you show people this?" Eli shrugged. "No one really looks." She looked up at him, eyebrows raised. "I'm looking." There was a long pause. He didn't know how to respond to that. "I mean it, Eli," she continued. "You have something special. It deserves to be seen." A quiet silence settled between them, but it wasn't awkward, it was full of understanding. Then Amelia had an idea. You know the school talent show next month. You should enter. Eli's eyes widened. Me? On a stage? Not you, she smiled. Your art. We'll figure it out. I'll help. That day, something shifted. Not just in Eli, but in the way he saw himself. Because for the first time, someone believed in what he carried inside. The auditorium buzzed with energy, families chatting, students whispering backstage, the hum of a microphone being tested. Behind the curtain, Eli stood frozen, clutching his sketchbook. His palms were sweating. His heart pounded so hard it felt like the floor could hear it. He peeked through the curtain. So many people. He turned to Amelia, panic rising in his chest. I can't do this. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Calm, steady. You're not alone, she said. Just breathe. Your art speaks louder than you ever could. She gave him a small nod. I'll be right there. The lights dimmed. The announcer's voice echoed. Next up, we have something a little different. Eli Harper, sharing his original artwork and story. The curtain rose. Eli stepped forward, blinking into the lights. A giant screen lit up behind him, his sketches, one by one, projected larger than life. Dragons soaring over cityscapes, children hugging monsters, a boy sitting alone in a storm, then rising with fire in his eyes. The audience was silent. Then Eli spoke, his voice shaky, but clear. I used to think no one saw me. That maybe I didn't matter. But someone did, and because of that, I started to believe I could matter too. For a second, no one moved. Then, applause. Loud, rising. Someone in the back stood. Then another. A standing ovation. Eli stood still, stunned. But his eyes found Amelia in the crowd, smiling, cheering, hands clapping over her head. He smiled back, not just because they liked his drawings, but because, for once, they saw him. The late afternoon sun painted the park in warm amber tones. Kids laughed in the distance. A breeze carried the scent of spring. Eli sat on a weathered bench, sketchbook in his lap, waiting. He watched the ducks glide across the pond, his mind unusually still. Then he heard footsteps. Amelia. She smiled as she approached, sitting beside him without a word, like they'd done this 1,000 times. For a while, they just sat in silence, comfortable, peaceful. Then Eli opened his sketchbook and tore out a page. Carefully, he handed it to her. It was a drawing, Amelia, sitting under a tree, sunlight in her hair, a soft smile on her face. Around her were small stars, like she was the center of a quiet galaxy. Amelia stared at it, speechless. I wanted to say thank you, Eli said softly. For noticing me when no one else did. For seeing something, worth saving. Her eyes glistened. She ran her fingers over the page gently, like it was fragile. You were never invisible, Eli, she whispered. You were just waiting for someone to remind you. He looked at her, really looked. For the first time, there was no fear behind his eyes. Just gratitude. And something new, confidence. I'm thinking of submitting to an art program next year, he said quietly. A real one. College. Her smile widened. You should. As the sun dipped lower, they sat together, no words needed. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person. One person who sees what no one else does. And in doing so, helps you finally see it in yourself.